Happy Wednesday to you, Central Georgia. Thanks for tuning in for a look at your extended forecast today as we're now crossing the midpoint in the week. I know it's probably been a long work week for many of you like myself, so you are ready to get closer and closer to this Friday. So as we normally start out this stream, let's talk about some of those 24-hour rainfall totals because once again, yesterday was another day of very scattered rain. At the very most, we did see some locally heavy areas of rainfall, even about 2 inches of rain in places in Wilkinson County, 1.5 inches right there on the Ocmulgee River, bordering Houston County, Twiggs County. Up here in Macon, actually got a good cluster of a thunderstorm. Nearly 2 inches of rain was associated with that. About an inch, 1.5 inches in areas of Crisp County, down into Telfair County, an inch in portions of Montgomery County, and then 1.5 inches in spots over in Hancock County on the border of Washington County. But if you are finding yourselves in one of these light blue shaded areas, only a couple of tenths of an inch of rain, so maybe just more so a couple of light showers, but some of those thunderstorms did dump their fair share of rain on those localized areas. Next things next, let's talk about the tropics outlook, which of course has been a little bit more active recently, but it looks like tropical activity is going to hit another lull. Still no activity expected in the next 7 days, and this is as of the 8 a.m. update this morning on the National Hurricane Center's website. But I did look at some of the long-range models, and it's far from certain because anything past 7 days, we are not confident in forecasting whatsoever because it's virtually anyone's guess as to what can happen. But the Climate Prediction Center has outlined maybe the northern Gulf as a potential area of development maybe past this next week. So we'll keep a close eye out to see if something wants to get stirred up just to the south and the southwest of us here in central Georgia. But right now it does look like there is a bulk of Saharan dust behind this banner. You can see all of this out here in the central Atlantic Ocean, and that's going to contribute to not the suitable ingredients for tropical systems to organize. You need not a lot of wind shear. You need some of that warm, moist air. Well, obviously, some of that Saharan dust is going to be a big, massive area of some drier air, not necessarily that warm, moist air. And there is some shear associated with that, and shear is just going to disrupt the circulation of anything that does try to organize. But back closer to home, we have to keep our eyes on the Gulf and the Caribbean because that's where systems can form this time of year as well. The Pacific does look a little bit more active, but there are no areas of potential development over there off the southern border of Mexico. Caribbean Sea looks relatively quiet right now, and a few just kind of run-of-the-mill summertime thunderstorms around the island of Cuba, getting over into the Bahamas, and of course, stretching up into Florida. But you can see some clouds in the picture. We'll get to that as we go into your satellite and radar pictures. Some of them look to be creeping close to central Georgia. The big headlines for today: better rain coverage starting today, continuing into tomorrow and into Friday. And then by the time we roll into the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, it does look like the rain chances are less impressive, more of your typical summertime forecast for both of those days. But we are staying hot and humid, and that is the reasoning for some of these summertime rain chances, and some days are going to have better rain chances than others. We'll go over why specifically that is in just 1 second. So let's take it over to the quad view on the sky cams where we get a glimpse of downtown Macon and downtown Dublin. In fact, for that matter, all 4 of our sky cams, you can see a decent amount of higher level cloud cover, but some occasional areas of some shade like down here at the fairgrounds. Not as much sunshine is present over in western Houston County, as opposed to a couple miles up the road off Cohen Walker Drive here behind Houston County High School and Highway 96. Overall, if you get some cloud cover, not a bad thing whatsoever because you can see this L bar over here on the left side of your screen. It's popping up those current conditions. And right now it's 84 in Cordele, but it feels more like 102. So let's go to your current temperature map and break some of those specific values down. So temperature-wise, some areas are actually hovering below what they were at this time yesterday. Maybe an 81 in McRae, 81 in Eastman, 82 in Vidalia. But the farther north that you travel, you're seeing some mid and upper 80s. Right here in this sector of central Georgia, we always talk about that is locked in some more humid air than the rest of the bunch. Here's a look at your current temperatures across the south and the southeast. 84 here in Macon is pretty close to the 86 we see in Panama City, 86 down in Orlando, and we can see an 85 in New Orleans, 82s in southern Texas. But areas to the north of us, feel a lot more pleasant, somewhere in the 70s possibly, 80 in Nashville. Overall, everyone is fairly uniform, and that's because we don't really have any big scale weather systems that are impacting us and creating different forecasts in different areas of the eastern half of the United States. It obviously just does get a little bit cooler the farther north that you travel. Eventually get up into Canada, they're probably dealing with some temperatures in the 50s, and boy, wouldn't that be nice compared to what we have been feeling. Dew point temperatures, it looks like most of central Georgia actually finds themselves in the upper 70s or near 80 degrees for those dew point temperatures. Lots of that deep and that dark green color that we can see, and we're going to continue to see dew point temperatures somewhere around this as we go into the afternoon, because notice these wind arrows that you see. Predominantly coming in from the west right now, but we could look at these to shift down a little bit farther to the south, start coming in from a direction that would be from the Gulf, and of course that's just going to usher in and push in even more muggy air into the picture. So we kind of have a day of what I'm deeming a little bit of super humidity. So we're going to have very, very muggy air. You're going to notice the humidity no matter where you go, even if you do travel to areas like Thomaston and Butler that see dew point temperatures a little bit lower, but that's mainly because those are higher levels over towards western Georgia. The kind of ground level per se, the topography of Georgia over to the east and down in our southern component is a little bit lower, closer to any moisture that is still lingering in the surface. And of course, that is closer to your watersheds and those low-lying areas that are closer to some of the rivers here. So let's take a look at your feels like temperatures already right now, seeing a couple of triple-digit values. 101 in Dublin, 100 in Sandersville, 103 I think takes the cake in Gordon, 102 in Milledgeville, 102 in Forsyth, 100 in Butler, 100 in Unadilla, and then another 102 down in Cordele. If you're not into the triple digits, you feel a little bit better, but you're still feeling the heat because this is all still before we even get to lunchtime, and then we may have some more hours of heating going into the afternoon, but some relief could be in store. So it feels like numbers, of course, just very similar to what we've seen the last couple of days. Right now the winds are predominantly still out of the west, but if we get that direction shift start to come in from the south and the southwest, of course areas down here in southwest central Georgia are going to be muggier earlier than the rest of the area, but there's not much more you can do in terms of those dew point temperatures. I mean, getting into around the 80-degree mark is about the muggiest air I think I've seen in my time working here, so I would hate to see a couple other values to get into the low 80s or even the mid 80s, which is just insult to injury. That it could do a real number on the feels like temperature. So let's talk about some of the numbers specifically for your high temperatures. 96 yesterday for a high. That was our second day in a row that we were above average in the high temperature department. You pair it up with humidity and of course it's still going to feel well above the 100-degree mark. 102 was the record back in 1977 and the record low, 59 degrees, set back in 2006. Like I said, if we saw a number with a 5 in front of it right now, that would definitely be very beneficial. 50s are a little bit chilly, but it would feel so good this time of year. But it is very, very rare for that to occur. You have seen our record lows hovering somewhere in the 60s as of recently, so a 50 would definitely be very out of normal. So we didn't record any rain yesterday at Middle Georgia Regional Airport. You see the precipitation amounts, not even recording 1/100th of an inch of rain, so that your departure did go down a little bit. I think it was specifically about 0.17 inches from yesterday because we were hovering at 3.99 above average yesterday. Now we're at 3.82. Still not really that much of a difference whatsoever. Sunrise yesterday, 6:34. Sunset finally creeped back a minute to 6:45 in the evening. So widespread rain today. It's looking more widespread than the last couple of days. That's why I do say that. Still going to be scattered, and there still will be areas that are left out of some rain. But showers and storms do look a lot more likely, and then a southwest breeze of about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Some gusts within some stronger weather, a strong thunderstorm or even a severe thunderstorm could get well above 20 miles per hour, maybe even 40 to 60 miles per hour in those severe storms. But a high temperature of 93 today, because that is taking into account more widespread coverage of rain. Our temperatures shouldn't be allowed to warm up as much as they have as the last couple of days. But that's a little up in the air now, as you'll take a current look at future view with me in just one second. But first, let's talk about the heat indices. You can see no indication of a cool down until maybe we get to around 5 p.m. This would probably be the time correlating with the model run that yes, okay, we finally have some rain chances popping up to knock these numbers down just a touch. But before then, there's probably about 6 to 7 hours worth of blistering hot heat in store for us, at least in the Macon area, and some areas could even see values that exceed that. So here's your satellite and radar picture where a lot of this is mainly upper level cloud cover. There's gaps in the cloud cover, so that's why we see a good amount of sunshine, areas like Macon, Warner Robins, down into Perry, but you can get your fair share of some shade, and getting down towards the south and the southeast. More dense cloud cover looks to be building in, but also this, the radar is not completely empty. We do see a low-end thunderstorm right now just to the south of Wilcox County and Chris County. A couple of stray lightning strikes are actually spanning just to the east of I-75 in Chris County. So we're going to start to look like we're getting an early start to maybe some precipitation chances because temperatures are pretty warm. The humidity levels are absolutely through the roof. So that's going to contribute to some scattered shower and some storm chances for yet another afternoon. Here's 4 p.m. So this is fast forwarding a couple hours from your current timing just before the 11 a.m. hour. But of course, if you're watching this replay later on, this isn't exactly what's going to happen on your satellite and radar later on. I think we have the potential and we have the setup for a lot more widespread rain than FutureView seems to pick up on right now. And you'll see why I'm saying this when I show you the storm outlook for today as well. 7 p.m. still predominantly just scattered light showers, not seeing anything in the way of thunderstorms whatsoever until maybe we get to 9 p.m. Some shades of orange, some shades of maybe a brief red color. And it does look like the rain tries to continue into the nighttime hours just a little bit. But it's once we get past sunset, those temperatures cool down. A lot of these storms lose all the fuel that they can get in the afternoon hours each and every day when those temperatures get warmer. If you tuned in yesterday, I was explaining that whole convective process. Warm air rises, cool air sinks. Well, we have plenty of that surface heating that's going to create some warm air that will continue to rise, and it's going to lift all that moisture we have at the surface in order to form clouds. And the higher the cloud tops go, the stronger that your weather can get. So we'll see what exactly plays out this afternoon, but I do believe this afternoon is probably going to look a lot like this image. More widely scattered rain and a couple of pockets of some heavier rain, indicating your fair share of thunderstorms because we already have a thunderstorm down just to the south of us. I think it's not too long before that activity starts to make its way up to the north. Now we go into 4 p.m. on Thursday afternoon, widely scattered rain chances, and there are plenty of yellows, oranges, reds all around us. But FutureView wants to leave central Georgia out of the fun for some reason until we get into the nighttime hours, and this is 11 p.m. I'm not even really confident that some storms are going to hold together that long, and FutureView doesn't hold on to that for much longer because, of course, when we go into the cooler portion of the day, you don't have as warm of temperatures contributing to that convective process each and every afternoon. But let's continue on into Friday. A beautiful start to the morning. I was telling Megan Western this morning, I'll hold down the weather each and every morning, and pretty easy to do so during this time of year. But the afternoons and evenings are always going to have at least some form of a rain chance unless you have some super dry air that gets inserted into the forecast, kind of like what we had this past weekend for 4th of July. But each afternoon and evening time frame continues to look like you dipped a brush in a can of paint and you kind of just flicked it all over a map of the southeast, whether that's a green color, whether that's a red, whether that's an orange or a yellow. But of course, once those colors get a little bit darker into the orange, red, those dark red categories, even some pink, it's going to indicate your heavy rainfall rates, and that would be more so associated with some storms. And FutureView continues to hint at the possibility of that happening each and every afternoon, more so into the evening hours after storms try to organize off one another. A lot of them, given the very scattered nature this time of year, they can send those outflow boundaries, those gust fronts out from them. That's going to be a downdraft of wind that just moves outside of the direction that maybe a thunderstorm is going. Well, if two of those start to clash together, that can create a lot of lift and kind of an axis for precipitation to form. So we'll continue to look out for those this afternoon too. But just know that the chances for rain are going to be the same as they were the last couple of days. Just looks like you have a much better shot for today, tomorrow, and Friday of seeing something in the way of rain. So let's take a look at your day one storm outlook. We obviously see this risk over here in the Great Plains portion of the country, even a level 2 up in areas of South Dakota stretching into northern Nebraska. But back here in our neck of the woods, we do find many counties in central Georgia outlined in a level 1 out of 5 risk for seeing some severe weather. Now, just because we have this outlook, it's not a guarantee that we see some severe weather. It does mean that we have more confidence for today seeing more severe weather or even just some stronger thunderstorms than the last couple of days. If you remember yesterday, though, folks down in Montgomery County and Toombs County actually, in fact, saw a pretty short-lived severe thunderstorm warning, so you don't even need to be in these outlooks to receive a warning as well during this time of year. So just because areas around I-75 to the west of I-75 aren't in any form of a severe weather outlook doesn't mean you can't catch a stray severe thunderstorm warning, but the confidence is a lot higher the farther east that you live today. This is really covering the bases for a thunderstorm that's going to have gustier winds than normal and, of course, some heavy downpours. You all know that thunderstorms have heavy rainfall rates. That's when things get really loud. You start to hear the rain beating on your window. So number one, what you're going to notice is probably some dark clouds off in the distance. You're going to hear those rumbles of thunder. But once a thunderstorm starts to move over you that is strong to severe, that's when the gusty winds start to commence, and then the heavy downpours. I just really wanted to emphasize that today because these are going to be very slow moving storms. They're going to sit over the same areas for a prolonged period of time. And like we've seen over in many areas of the country as of recently, you get a lot of rain in a short time frame. It can result in your fair share of flooding, not to the degree always of what we've seen over in Texas, up in North Carolina, even in Chicago, a straight flash flood warning last night. But if you get a lot of rain over a short period of time, it can continue to contribute to the puddling of low-lying areas that don't drain well, low-lying areas near bodies of water, and that's what we'll have to be on the lookout for associated with those heavy downpours. It can briefly pop up. Pretty quick flash flood warning in some areas, but we haven't seen that come to fruition as of recently. I think the last time we did was about a week and a half ago. It was towards the end of June. It was a Friday night, and we saw a big flash flood warning for Peach County and Bibb County. But enough talking about the past, just trying to put something in reference for what we could see. This is all what we could see. This is all potential. Of course, during the summertime, it's really hard to nail down a very specific forecast, but you should always be prepared for the worst and expect the best. Now getting into your day 2 storm outlook, you will notice a little bit of a shift in our level 1 risk. It's mainly for the northeastern half of central Georgia now, so a couple counties a little bit to the west in the northern side of central Georgia find themselves in a risk for tomorrow as opposed to today. But the big thing I'm trying to keep an eye on is this yellow shade, this level 2 out of 5 risk, which would mean even more confidence in some potentially strong and severe weather. It is creeping very close to central Georgia. It encompasses areas like Augusta, getting over into the Georgia-South Carolina state line. And right now it clips the very edge of Hancock County. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe an extension of this into some of our north and our northeastern counties here by this time tomorrow, but we'll continue to see what the SPC is thinking on that. We could even see a trimming back of both of these risks, but Future View is still picking up on some pretty widespread impacts from some showers and storms for tomorrow as of right now. And then the day 3 storm outlook, we are not in any form of a risk here. But just to our north and our northeast, once again, we do see a level 1 shaded area that is really close to home, so we could see that risk try to creep into some counties in our north and our northeastern corner. So here's a look at the excessive rainfall outlook. You probably haven't seen me show this very much, but this is something we want to emphasize whenever we have the risk of that isolated flash flooding. So areas farther to the east, really the eastern half of our easternmost counties, are in a slight risk on the excessive rainfall outlook, and you see this legend up here at the top. Think of this like the storm outlooks I just showed you. We have that level 1 through 5. Well, excessive rainfall, you have a level 1 through 4. A slight is a 2 out of 4, and then a marginal is going to be a 1 out of 4. So you notice that I've outlined both of those. This is the day 1 outlook. We have another outlook on the day 2 that encompasses northern central Georgia and a marginal risk. Basically, the meaning of this is going to be a flash flood warning or maybe 2, and slight risk is going to be a couple, so maybe getting into about 3 or 4 possible. Nonetheless, whatever risk you're under, just know that all of central Georgia is under a risk, but you don't see that green color, so you might be asking, Alex, what are you talking about? It's only these eastern counties. I promise you, I don't know why. The file just was not picking up on that green shaded area for the rest of central Georgia. I tried downloading it and re-downloading it, playing around with it, and just couldn't get the green color to pop up. So treat everyone else, if you're not in some form of a shaded area on this graphic, you're in that green color. I promise you, that's what it says online. And then we go over to the east, and that's where you have a greater risk of maybe some potentially isolated flash flooding, but of course that's something that we have to really nail down at the exact timing of. So if you do get a flash flood warning, especially given the sensitivity of some of that flash flooding over the last week or so, definitely make sure that you're exercising the most important piece of information and the most important piece of advice I could give you, which is turn around and don't drown. Don't try to drive through puddled areas or water that starts overlapping onto roads and overpasses. Make sure that you just turn around, find a different way to get to wherever your destination is, because a lot of times that water can be a lot deeper than it can appear. And of course, it doesn't take much water in order to sweep away a car. We're only talking a couple of inches, and yourself, it takes even less amounts of water to sweep you off your feet. So over the next 3 days, the rain chances, really what I want to emphasize, obviously you see the 60%, you start to think of that as, oh, okay, it's a pretty likely chance that I get some rain. But there still is a 40% chance that you go without seeing anything in the way of rain. It's the summertime, it's just going to be very pop-up in nature, very unpredictable in nature. So of course, we just want you to be prepared for what you could possibly see. I just want to emphasize with Wednesday and Thursday's rain chances, that is greater than what we've seen over the last 5 or 6 days, and that continues to be greater than any other rain chance that I do see on the 7-day forecast. Because mainly, number one, it's just going to be that southwest orientation of the winds continuing to usher in more and more and more moisture. And eventually, when the atmosphere packs out the enough moisture content, all it can hold at the surface, of course, that moisture content is still going to flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So that's the main reasoning for the uptick in Wednesday and Thursday's rain chances. But by the time we get into the very end of the work week on Friday, we do see those chances go down slightly, still to 40%. So it's kind of around a 50-50 shot each and every day, not exactly. But still, the good thing is with these more impressive rain chances, high temperatures are down a touch. We'll take what we can get. 93 is average for this time of year, so hovering around there, maybe a degree or two less. But the earlier that you get some rain, you're probably going to fall short of a lot of these high temperatures. If you're a little bit later to get some rain, then of course your temperatures could shoot just above it. But with the humidity in the forecast that we have right now, and that not wavering over the course of the next 7 days, of course, those numbers are going to feel a good deal warmer, anywhere from 7 to 10 degrees warmer. I think we've seen some areas on this L bar that are feeling roughly about 14 degrees warmer than their actual temperatures. So yes, going to be hot and going to be humid. You will find yourself rooting for the rain, I promise you, with heat indices that could top out somewhere in the low to mid 100s and isolated areas that could see feels like numbers even above those values I have for the next 5 days. So let's take a look at the long-range models. I will tell you the rain chances are not looking as impressive for your Saturday and for your Sunday, which may be very opportune for any outdoor plans that you do have. I would put them for Saturday or Sunday afternoon because it looks like the rain chances scatter out a lot more, and that's going to be more reminiscent of a typical summertime forecast. More scattered out rain chances, maybe a storm, maybe even a strong or a severe storm each and every afternoon, but it's going to be very localized to specific areas. And most people are going to be saying, what rain are you talking about? But the county next to you could have been like, oh man, that thunderstorm really packed a punch. Really gusty winds, even a little bit of hail, heavy downpours, lightning that was just flashing every couple of seconds. That's just giving you a good idea of the localized and isolated nature that we're talking about when we say those words in the forecast. So we continue this pattern into Monday evening. Lots of rain down to the south of us in Florida as we go into the beginning of next week. And then take a look at what's going on there in the northern Gulf. There's a lot of rain. Nothing's necessarily organized, but this is where we're getting to the time frame past those 7 days that the National Hurricane Center doesn't see anything in terms of potential tropical development. We'll play it all the way to Wednesday, and there's still a good amount of green shade down there. Of course, that's out of the graphic right now, but we're not seeing anything definitive, but that's an area that we'll have to keep a close eye on as we head specifically into the weekend when those rain chances lessen, scatter out a little bit more. For now, the short-term concern is going to be monitoring that satellite and radar and notifying you of any potential severe thunderstorm warnings or even flash flood warnings as we go throughout this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, and Friday afternoon, and then hopefully Saturday and Sunday, we're not having to deal with too much in the way of a stronger thunderstorm. But here's where things stand on your 7-day forecast. Still not much change from yesterday. A lot of the percentages are virtually the same. Just a greater chance than not of seeing some rain today and tomorrow. Down a little bit on Friday, but still more impressive than what we have going on Saturday all the way to next Tuesday. Just your 30% chance of a scattered shower, maybe even a low-end thunderstorm that packs a little bit more of a punch. But due to the scattering out of those rain chances starting Saturday this weekend, we are looking at a little bit of an uptick in that high temperature, back a couple degrees above average. But of course, these numbers don't really matter on the high temperature scale when you have humidity like we have. Of course, it's going to feel a good deal warmer. Make sure you're staying hydrated and keep your fingers crossed for some rain, because the heavier rainfall that you do get, that is going to decrease those numbers a good bit more. So say we have temperatures that are soaring up into the low 90s, they're feeling like the low triple digits. Well, you get a heavy shower or a thunderstorm that comes over your area, it's going to knock those numbers down somewhere into the 80s. And of course, it's still going to be super swampy out. You probably know after a rain shower in the summertime, it is very, very humid outside. But when you have temperatures that are somewhere in the low to mid 80s, they are not going to feel near as bad as they would during peak sunshine, temperatures in the low 90s that feel like the triple digits. So it would be some short-term relief, and then hopefully that can carry you on into the evening hours, the nighttime hours. As we creep closer and closer to sunset, those temperatures aren't going to have much warming left to do. So the rain-cooled air is a bit of relief from the heat at the very least. We just never like to really have an afternoon shower or even a thunderstorm complicate any outdoor plans. Maybe that round of golf you're trying to play with your buddies right before summer break comes to an end in a couple of weeks, or just going out to dinner and wanting to have an outside dinner, maybe grilling out. Of course, you're going to have to play it by ear, keep a close eye on that 24/7 loop we have here on 13 WMAZ+. It's giving you the current radar image whenever you want. So you think that things are looking good to go, it's nice and sunny outside, you just want to check it to be sure, check the radar, see, and make sure that nothing's coming your way so it doesn't interrupt you and you have to carry everything and scram and run inside. If you are starting to grill out, that's great. That's a great tool to use, especially during these pop-up and these pretty unpredictable summertime showers and storms. But overall, it's really going to be hot and humid when you're not seeing that rain. Be sure you're taking care of your body, staying hydrated, and continuing to apply and reapply sunscreen and taking breaks in the shade and in the AC whenever you can. Don't spend too much time outside because it can result in some heat-related illness. So that's where things stand. We're coming up on 11 o'clock here in about 2 minutes or so. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off so I don't run over my designated time here in the 30-minute window. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back once again 10:30 every single weekday for another breakdown of your extended forecast.